Okay, hi. Good morning, everybody. Thank you. My name is Ron Grassi. I am the Director of Programs for Solano Transportation Authority. And Julia was kind enough to invite me this morning. And you're right, it's a beautiful day. The rain is gone. It's going to be in the 70s. So yeah, I hope everybody has plans for a wonderful weekend. Received a couple of questions ahead of time from Julia. Um, I'll just read them off and then I'll get to them throughout the presentation. And if anybody has any questions, don't hesitate to just raise your hand or stop me or speak up. Um, the first outline, or you know what, maybe I'll just share the screen. That might be easier. Hold on a second. Can I?
Yep, you have the ability.
Okay, so these were some of, and Julie, I don't know if these were you were thought up on your own or you had a little
The-
committee
These ones
or
were from me specifically, but with some input from others as well.
okay, perfect. So STA versus Soul Trans responsibilities, I'm going to be able to address that in my PowerPoint. Um, and then once you realize the different responsibilities, that'll answer the second part of this question. Getting from Vallejo Transit Center to Vacaville, that is merging two different lines. So I'll show you the schedules on those. And there, I can let you know there is improvement on that coming along the way. Um, I don't have too much information on the light rail from Sonoma to Sassoon. I know Sassoon train station is supposedly going to be, and it's written up in the plans as a state transit hub. So that is in the long range plans. But I'll provide an update with you for Highway 37 and where we are for that. BART coming to Solano County, that ship kind of has sailed. And just based on the
Oh
current
yeah.
status of where transit funding is, I don't see that happening. But there is a possibility of the light rail more from Sonoma to Sasuna. That at least is something that's in plans. And then I'll be able to give you some information on our Solana mobility programs for seniors and disabled, and let you know what we're doing as far as planning. So if that, I'm going to use that kind of as the agenda if that works for everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, so now can you see the PowerPoint?
Yes.
Hmm. Okay, jump to the wrong screen. Hold on. We're gonna-
You might have to change which screen you're sharing.
Yeah, hold on a second. We'll do this old school. I'll just make it bigger. Is that better?
Yep.
There we go. And this is easier in case somebody wants to go back a slide or something as well. Um, So let me give you a little bit of background information on STA and what our role is. We're primarily responsible for regional services. We partner with the ferry. We offer a first last mile benefit for people that don't want to drive their car, but they want to go take the ferry to San Francisco. And there's a lot of ridership on that. We also sit on the Capital Corridor Joint Powers Authority, so we're a member of the JPA. The way Capital Corridor is set up, it's a little bit, it can help you explain or understand a little bit of the difference between STA and Soul Trans. So Capital Corridor, that is the power authority. They're the ones that put the funding together for the Amtrak service that's running between Sacramento and the Bay Area. But the operator for that service is Amtrak. So Amtrak is kind of a contractor for Capital Corridor. And so Solano Express basically is similar in the fact that STA puts together the funding, the budgeting. We help find capital, and we work on regional, state, and federal transit funding. Soul Trans and STA, we both do marketing, service planning. There again, that is also another joint shared event. And then we develop the capital plan for bus replacement. Additionally, We coordinate the Transportation Development Act claims. That's a role that MTC gave us because we have six different transit operators in Solano County. We all work together and sometimes we swap money. So that's kind of the matrix for explaining that. We also do short range transit plans, and coordinate that so there's a coordinated plan. And we do long range transit plans. The comprehensive transportation plan is a project right now that's currently being updated by our planning department, and a new plan will be out shortly. We're also very focused on American with Disabilities Act, and we have many programs to help the disabled population. Prior to August of 2021, Solano Express actually had two transit operators, Fast, which is based out of the city of Fairfield, and Soul Trans, which is a joint powers authority which was created back in 2011 between the city of Vallejo and the city of Benicia. Basically, what they do is they do the operations, the vehicle maintenance, administration, and the non-vehicle maintenance. Back then in August of 2021, we got board direction to kind of merge the two lines. The idea was to create some economies of scale, and increase efficiency with just one transit operator. Now, as time has rolled on from 2021 to today, there's been different changes. Soul Trans is no longer going to Sacramento. So to do that, what we did to fill the void is we set up a Solana Mobility Express van pool pilot program. And this is important because this has showed success in the last 2, 3 years with the service to Sacramento. But it is a model that we're using for SR37, and we're also exploring this model. Soltrans issued and completed a comprehensive operational analysis. So Davis is no longer going to be in their scope, and we're looking to do this type of model to provide that service as well. The good news, though, in their planning is they are adding additional service between Fairfield and Vacaville. So that's going to help that question why it takes so long to get between Fairfield and Vacaville. And those service plans are scheduled to go into effect as of August 1st of 2026. Some of the corridor studies that we've done is obviously Highway 37. We've also done I-505. We've also, studied I-80. STA was one of the partners with I-80. If everybody's noticed, I know it was painstaking to get the new express lane put in. But it is in and it is working. It is actually adds an additional lane. If you have three or more people in your vehicle, it's free to you to use the express lane. If you have two people, it's a discounted rate. If you just want to take advantage of being able to ride in that express lane, you need to get a fast track um, device for your car and get your car registered to fast track, tie your credit card to it, and then, for $2 or $3, you can save a lot of your time sitting in traffic. I'm going to go over because the highlight that you mentioned was the SR37. This is a challenge, basically, number one, because the infrastructure is not really there for the road. So there is an interim project where they would add an additional lane, and they're working on that right now. But so that is why there is no transit on it right now, because basically, if we do transit on this right now without any type of carpool or bus lane or express lane, you're just going to be sitting in traffic just like everybody else. Um, but we are looking at it, we are studying it, and there's an interim project which would help, and then there's the ultimate project, but the ultimate project is costing in the billions, so that's probably not going to happen anytime soon. Some of our strategies that we looked at were first last mile programs. Right now, we have first last mile programs that help you go from home or work to a transit mobility hub. Um, the other areas that we looked at was fixed route transit. However, running a Soul Trans Solano Express bus, those are 45-foot buses. They would not do well on Highway 37 as it is now. So more of a smaller competitive ride sharing type program is what the proposal is at this point. We've also looked at two separate alternatives, one going from Vallejo to Novato, which is kind of like the northern route. But then there is also a southern route where people would going from Vallejo down into San Rafael. So the idea here is if we had smaller vehicles, they would be more nimble and we would be able to set up transit hubs and in the hopes of possibly being able to service both. So the idea is we would do mobility hubs at the fairgrounds. This is a project that's currently underway and being put together by Solano County, the county proper. Um, Also, then the downtown hub for Novato, and I know they're actually doing work in San Rafael, creating a hub there as well. So some of the alternative for serving Route 37, we looked at the fixed route transit. That did actually the cost kind of was cost prohibitive. The organized ride-sharing van pool with paid drivers, that is the service that I explained earlier that we're running currently to Sacramento. That is we feel would be the best program to initiate it, the service on Highway 37, and the advantage there, it is scalable. So the first last mile program, it can help you get to transit, but it's really not going to substitute for transit. I'm like halfway through, answered about three or four of your questions, and then I was going to go into the mobility program. So this might be a good spot if anybody has any questions.
Does anybody have any clarifying questions for what's been gone over so far?
Yeah, I had a question regarding the Highway 37 and the creation of the fast lanes or the, fast pass lanes. Is it going to be along the lines of what's on Golden Gate Bridge where it's movable? Or are they actually going to be widening that road to accommodate fast pass lanes on both sides of the roadway going, in both directions? Because that to me seems costly. And I understand that having the movable lane, you're talking about a larger distance than you do on the Golden Gate Bridge, but that seems to provide less need for a wider road. And I also, this is a financial question, and maybe you're going to get into it, but I understand because ridership goes down and funding is also going down, that some routes are being eliminated. Are we going to be getting any money from the fast lanes that were created on 80 to supplement what you're doing? And by the way, thank you for being here on a Saturday. I really appreciate it.
No, my pleasure. No, those are really good questions and actually very insightful. So, I'm not in the design phase of that project, but I know they are looking at it and they are studying the idea of a movable barrier. But you're right, the problem with that is it's a very long distance. So I know they're looking at different scenarios to solve that problem. But the idea is one way or the other, they got to widen that road and that's going to be the challenge. And the fact of the matter with also dealing with sea level rise, they kind of have to raise it up and widen it, so it's kind of making a larger bridge. So those are some of the challenges, and that's why this project is basically taking so long to get off the ground. And then funding, we don't have the funding lined up. We were granted funding through the Metropolitan Transportation Commission to do these studies, but we don't have funding for the ultimate project yet.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can I jump in? Sorry, Julie. In terms of that, I understand that the toll road, it's going to be a toll road. So if you want to go on there, and it seems like it's going to be hitting Solano County the most. And I don't know if this is true or not, but I heard that the tolls would only be collected going into Marin County, not for people coming from Marin County into Solano County. Is that true or is that not a true statement?
I can confirm that it is going to be a toll road. I don't know what directions it's going to be in, but it's going to be similar to the express lane that they just put in on Highway 80, where if you get the fast track and you're have three people in your car, it's free. If there's two people in the car, it's discounted. And then one of the other things which is kind of unique, which they are actually still working on developing, and they are also working on developing it for Highway 80 for people that are low income, and they're working on all what are the guidelines for that. They were going to offer some sort of free pass or seriously reduced cost pass for people that are just trying to get to work, that are just making ends meet. And then one of the other reasons why we want to do some sort of transit is also for that. So, people that don't have cars can still get to Sonoma. Any other questions?
I think the only other one is Solano County benefiting from any of these regional toll
Yes,
lanes?
yes. So one of the commitments that actually was made before the I-80 toll road was put in was a return to source, which means that if you're collecting revenue on Highway 80, we want some of that money for a couple of different things. There is still a choke point on Highway 80 in the city of Dixon. And if you're living in Vacaville, you know that really well because as you start going to Sacramento in either direction or coming from Sacramento, the road narrows and even with that, you see the choke point until you get to that next express lane, then it opens back up again. So we want to be able to, they call it a project initiation document, which basically means that they want to be able to get funding to study that. And then the other area that they're looking for is actually funding to run a transit. Transit funding is becoming very, very tight. And you'll see that we're having to make some changes for Solano Express just for that reason as well. Um, but if we got some money from the toll, that would help us to run more robust transit system.
Awesome. Thank you.
So continue on then.
I think so.
Okay, so the next couple of questions are focused more on your questions about what do we have for older adults, people with disabilities, veterans, and I'm happy to report that Solano County is recognized as one of the top counties in the area as far as all our mobility programs. And actually, this is the second time now the Daily Republic does a Reader's Choice Award, but this is the second time we're voted as best senior resource in Solano County. And obviously, I couldn't do any of that without my staff putting all their best foot forward. And I'll go through now a couple of different programs and services that what we do provide to residents of Solano County. And these programs basically began um, out of little niches and gaps that were identified through. I got to give credit to Supervisor Sparing at the time. Back in 2009, he was getting comments from seniors and people that are disabled. It's like, what are we doing for them? So he started holding a number of summits, and that really got the ball running. And then STA took that over, and we continued having mobility summits in 2011 on through even 2018, and developed through that different types of program to the point where today we actually have 18 countywide Solano mobility programs. They're broken down into two different categories. About a half a dozen of those are dedicated just to helping older adults, people with disabilities, and veterans. And then there's about a dozen programs to try to help commuters to incentivize them to take Solano Express. We have a program that if you're going to use your bicycle to transfer or travel to and from work or commuter, we will help you with the purchase of a bicycle or the repair of a bicycle. Um, Interesting program that we ran as a part. I don't know if everybody is familiar with Judge Wendy Getty. She came to Jim Sparing and said, you know what, I'm having a problem because I'm getting jurors and they're saying they don't have transportation and they can't come and do jury duty, which she was very emphatic that it was, a person's civic duty and transportation shouldn't be a barrier to that. Well, we developed an equitable access to justice where the courts will screen you to see if you truly qualify as being low income or not having the resources. And then we will actually provide a free Lyft or Uber to court if you needed to go to court. And then what's a magically that happened about that? She never got, I can count on one hand how many people took advantage of that. And the excuse that I can't go to jury duty because I don't have transportation has become non-existent. But we are using this program also for people with special needs. There are specialty courts designed at the court to help veterans, to help disabled, people that need to go to mental health appointments that truly do have a need. And that is where the program is actually seeing the most benefit and getting the most use out of it. We also have some local programs that support the city of Benicia, Suisun City, um, and and those are subsidized by those cities. Everything, though, gets funneled through our Solano Mobility call center. I have a team in the call center. What's nice about it, we do not use AI to answer our phone. We actually have live people that will answer your phone. The calls are answered within 10 seconds, and we're basically able to help you either with any of your trip planning or just learning about our programs or trying to help you get to where you need to go in or out of Solano County. These are some of the programs highlighted for older adults, people with disability, and veterans. If you've never rode transit before and you want to learn how to use transit, we offer travel training. If you are disabled, one of the key requirements to use paratransit service is you need to be certified. So we provide the countywide certification for disability. We also offer a intercity taxi card program for people that are disabled that are trying to get around town where the bus may not be taking you. Our most popular program is actually a medical concierge program, and we use GoGo Grandparents as our call center. And that program basically takes you to essential trips, primarily medical appointments. And then basically we've opened up all these programs to veterans to just to support our local veterans. We also offer the commuter programs. As I mentioned, there's about a dozen of them. So here's just a list of them. They're funded with different types of funding sources. We really bring a web of funding together between Transportation Development Act, which is state funded, state transit assistance funds. We get grants from the Yolo Solano Air Quality Management District. And we get grants from the Bay Area Management District. We also get OBAG funding. And one of our programs, our vehicle share program, was actually started with the support of the Yosho-Dihi Winta Nation, and they helped us invest in the capital. So we really try to partner with all the agencies within Solano County and the nonprofits. This gives you an idea of how many people are participating. Our first last mile program, we have about 2,000 people participating in that. We also offer a stopgap program. If for some reason you're a Solano Express rider and the bus doesn't show up, we offer a guaranteed ride program. And then if you want to try the train and you either live or work in Solano County and you've never taken the Capital Corridor before, we have an incentive program where for $20 we'll get you a 10-day pass. We'll connect you even to a lift to try getting you out of your car and using the train or any other type of mass transit. But the Capital Corridor program, I'm very fond of, just to be honest with you, because I live in Sacramento and I've been commuting to Solano County for 16 years now on the train. This gives you an idea of usage of our first last mile program by city. This is origin, destination, and the program is broken down into two categories. If you're on some sort of state or federal assistance, what I'm talking about would be CalFresh, which probably historically known as food stamps, or WIC for uh, moms who are in maternity. Um, we work with Solano County Health and Social Services to make that determination. We offer them a 20% is all they have to pay for their Lyft or Uber ride. We would absorb 80% of the cost if you're going to transit. However, if you don't qualify for the low income programs, then you would pay 40% of the ride, but we still subsidize 60% of that. So as you can see, that is why that is probably one of our most popular programs. And then, as I mentioned, Solano Mobility Call Center is really the funnel where you call that 800 number, you get a live person answering that call, and they can really help you go through based on your needs, if you're a commuter, a senior, disabled, veteran, what type of programs would best benefit you. Um, we are seeing the call volume actually, which is interesting, in the last couple of years has dropped, but we're seeing in the last 2 or 3 years people are becoming more and more user friendly and using our website. And you can pretty much, by getting to our website, obtain all the information that's available. As far as funding, as I mentioned, it is a web funding. Most of our funding, I would say 50% of our funding comes from state transit assistance funds. That is derived from diesel fuel tax. And so all those trucks going down the highway, basically, they're helping to pay for our mobility programs. And then the next biggest chunk would be Solano County Transportation Development Act funds. And then, as you see, there's various different grants. We even get money from Kaiser that helps with our mobility programs. And with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions. My contact information is here. Debbie manages my programs for older adults, people with disabilities, and Lorene oversees the employer commuter program. So there's everybody's contact information.
Rita, go ahead. You can unmute.
Oh, calling on me?
Yep.
I just want to, I'm the chair of the Napa Solano Advisory Council on Aging, and we've been working with Debbie, and she's been very helpful for us to learn about all the different programs, because what we do is we go and advocate for all the programs that are available in Solano County for their seniors. So it's been very helpful. I do have two questions. One, I've heard that we're going to get driverless vehicles in Solano County, whether we want it or not. And I was wondering whether or not that's going to be something that your agency is going to be using at all. And then, secondly, do you coordinate with people like Faith in Action who are volunteer programs? Is that something that if you call the call center that people would be directed there? And finally, for the time being, because this is an area that's very, very critical to seniors and disabled people. A lot of seniors don't like driving at night. Some of the seniors, especially veterans, they get, or even Kaiser, they may have to go outside Solano County to get to a medical appointment. And that is really challenging. Is there a coordination between Solano County and the other counties surrounding us, like Napa and Contra Costa? And do you have riders that get people on base? Because that's a challenge too, in terms of you have to have a pass to get on base. So, but some of these things I think I've heard from Debbie, but I'm just wondering about that. So like three questions.
I'll try to take what I heard. You had a list there. Coordination between other counties. We do work with the other counties, but there are no programs that are actually designed to coordinate between the two. Um, Blessing and a curse. Solano County has more mobility programs than any of the other neighboring counties. And so actually we have become the model. I know Napa right now is trying to work and with us, and they are in the process of setting up a PEX card system, which is for the taxi card program. And we do coordinate very much with Napa. They actually run the Route 21, which takes people from the Sassoon Amtrak and Fairfield Transportation Center up to Napa. Um, we have a few locations that are approved, and it's kind of more of a on an individual basis. For instance, the Rio Vista area, there are very few doctors up in that area. So we do have some of the hospitals and doctors, and we've kind of done it by request that are available in Antioch. There's also the veteran centers that are in Martinez. That area is included. So it's almost like a case. If you want to go outside of the county, it's almost like a case by case issue. But the primary focus was to help the funding, and that's where we're able to get some of the funding from Kaiser, is because we're working to support the hospitals and services inside Solano County. So our primary focus is inside, but I agree with you. We do need more coordination with other agencies. They don't have a similar program though, and the funding of it. They're constantly asking us, "How did you put the funding together to do this?" And it's like, well, we've been doing this for a while. It started back in 2009. So, as far as being on base, that is a challenge. And every 2 years they change their base commander, and it seems like the rules change, and we got to start all over. So, so that, and I know there's like a couple of taxi companies or a couple of people that in the taxi company that can go on base. But yeah, we haven't completely, there are ways to get on base, but we haven't completely resolved that issue. Did I get everything?
There was one other thing, but I do want to clarify on that. Is there any way to work with the base to essentially have it where they can get people can get picked up at home and dropped at the gate, so then you're not
Yes,
dealing
they
with
can get
that?
dropped at the gate. That happens now, but it's getting past the gate actually onto the base. And if you're going to
Yeah.
Grant Medical Center, I mean, if you're disabled, it's a long walk to get through the gate
No,
into.
what I was saying is actually get from the gate into the base. So
Oh, yeah,
like
no.
having something where the transportation goes to the gate and then there's a transfer force if there's something that the base wants to do or if you've worked with them at all
We'd
in.
we'd be happy to work with them. As I mentioned, every 2 years they keep changing base commanders. So you get to the point where you may want to get into something and then it goes by the wayside.
Okay. And then Rita was talking about Faith in Action. Is there
Oh,
any
yes.
coordination
Faith
efforts
in
there?
Action is a partner, and we do use them quite a bit. And they have a number of services that we refer them to. The nice thing about Faith in Action is the service is provided for free. If you want to make a donation, you can make a donation. But yes, we do partner with Faith in Action. We provide funding to help Faith in Action keep going.
Okay.
And the other question was about autonomous vehicles. I've heard they're coming
Yeah,
to Solana County, whether we like it or not. So,
you know what? That's more of a private sector. We're not involved with bringing the autonomous vehicles to here. Um, I've seen them in San Francisco, kind of sit and stuck in traffic. So I haven't. It is something that's coming in the future, but we're not pushing that agenda.
I
Put
just
it
had a
that way.
question more about, quite frankly, the night service, in the sense that Rita was talking about people not wanting to drive at night. Quite frankly, I am not yet a senior, but I also qualify under the hates to drive at night. and but quite frankly, a lot of the services basically stop at sunset. And so um is there, like, within those programs, is there ways to um get those services in night at night, like after dark, for things like, say, going to the senior center, going to events, that sort of thing?
So if you're going to a medical appointment, you could use the Go-Go Grandparents program, but those aren't normally at night. The services that you could use at night are taxi. I'm going to be honest with you, ever since the pandemic, the taxi companies have struggled to maintain drivers. I do have, and this is one of the other questions that you mentioned about, if I can get my mouse going. Let me share my screen again. This is the Solano Express current red line. It does run until about 9 or 10 o'clock at night. And then that would get you to a transit hub. And then you could use our first last mile program if you're coming from a transit hub to get to home or to work. So, um, but to answer your question about how long it takes, yeah, if you're leaving Vallejo Transit Center, let's say at 11 o'clock in the morning, you can get to the Fairfield Transportation Center. That's at about 11:30. But then if you're at the Fairfield Transit Center at 11:30, you do have a connection to get from the transportation center, but you kind of have to really pay attention to the schedules because then you can transfer from the red to the blue to get to Vacaville. And that is about an hour, right? If you started at 11, let me go back and look. Oh, it's about an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Starting at 11, you get to the Fairfield by 11:30. Um, if it's all also depends if the bus is running on time and gets you there by 11:52, but ideally it could take you an hour and a half. If you miss that one, You're right. The next one is at 2 o'clock. So there is a gap in that midday service. But the hope is with the next service plan, we will increase the frequency between Fairfield and Vacaville, and that will help. Um, and then we are working to expand that Sacramento Vanpool service to increase the frequency between Vacaville, Dixon, UC Davis.
Um, I just had a thought and it fully went out of my mind. Does anybody else have any questions while I try to get myself back?
I think Kathy had her hand raised, but I don't know if
She
she still has a
did.
question.
No, I just wanted to tack on to a couple of things. One is that when you bring up mental health, things like that, that I think it's really important to look into expanding evening programs because one of the biggest problems with the disabled and elderly is isolation. The other point, and I know you probably have nothing to do with this, but even getting on the train, the lower levels are for seniors and the disabled, and yet my husband and I do use the train a lot. And those lower levels are often taken up by kids and young people who are not willing to necessarily give up the seats. I've seen issues in how we get that dealt with appropriately because oftentimes the conductor, they may say something, but they really don't want to get involved.
Yeah, basically that would be the conductor would be the person that's supposed to resolve that. But you're right, the conductors aren't looking for conflict. I mean, it's not a perfect world.
No, 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 I know, but in order to increase ridership of people who need to use the train, or some sort of transportation, they have to feel safe. That's
Right.
all.
Yeah, no, I concur with you. Yeah, the trains actually run late. They'll go till 10 o'clock at night.
Well, that's not been my experience, but okay. Yeah, I love taking the train. My husband and I take it all the time. We're not night drivers anymore.
Yeah, no, no, I'm a train fan.
Okay. Anything else?
I was just going to ask, thank you again for taking time out on a Saturday to come here. Is there anything that we in our organization can do to help you in terms of advocating for you or spreading the word or funding? I can't
You know
give you
what?
any
I
money.
think that we're always looking for funding, but the area agency on aging, that was the funding that actually it was with Elaine Clark, and that was the funding that actually got the Go-Go grandparents going, and that has developed into a $600,000 program, and I think the initial investment was $75,000. The issue that we had though with the funding is our transit funding requires a certain amount of a match, and that was a conflict with the funding that came from Area on the Aging. But the fact that the program was so successful so initially, we decided to keep that going, and I'd say that is probably our number one most popular program right now. So I do have
Mm,
to hats off to Area Agency on Aging for doing that. But the main
okay.
thing that everybody could help us with is really getting the word out. We have all these wonderful programs, but no matter how much outreach I do with my staff, events we go to, advertising, there's a big population that don't know these programs exist.
I actually had a question about one of the programs, which was the Solano County Flyers one for the in between the different campuses for the community college, as I find that students are another one of the frequent public transportation users. Is there a schedule for that? Is that something that they need to know about to access? Or is it advertised at the college? Like, how are they finding out about it and how used is it?
So it is a program that started um, from the college actually. The Solano Community College came to us and they said, you know what, we want to provide better connectivity between our campuses. And so they came to us, and this is our program right here. And it is a free shuttle that really supports getting people between the different. Fairfield is their main campus, so that was their big concern is getting people from the Vallejo campus or the Vacaville campus to the Fairfield campus. And so, yes, we do. There is a schedule and a QR code that is on our website to get to that. And it runs pretty much all day long. And the college themselves, they said they took the handle on the marketing. And so basically, they have sent emails and whatnot to to all the students. And so ridership on this has definitely increased. But the students actually made the design for the vehicles, and then we wrapped it based on that. And this is a program that was started in partnership with Solano Community College, and it's paid for by the college. They had a special grant where transportation was included in that grant, and that's how they're funding it.
Is it highly used? Is it advertised? Like, I'm just curious because I have actually talked with parents of students who were trying to figure that out, and it wasn't something that we knew about.
Yeah, once again, it's awareness. It is being used more when people are using it. I wouldn't say it's at capacity yet, so there's still more room for growth. Yeah, so
Okay.
but there again, it's awareness. And we offer the route tracking as well. Download the app, and basically the service area is between Vallejo, Fairfield, and Vacaville.
Okay. And so it goes to both the automotive and the Vallejo campus.
That was their intent. They said, you know what, our campuses, and we don't. They apparently they don't run all the programs at each individual campus. So
Nope,
technically, somebody could have a class in Vallejo and another class in Vacaville, and that's what they wanted to basically make sure people could get there.
they do. They often have classes in Fairfield and at either one, because I know the fire program is in Vacaville, but the automotive program is in Vallejo.
Yeah.
And so,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Yep,
me,
Rita.
me, me again. I'll pass the word on to Elaine Clark that I'm sure she knows, but I'll let her know. And could you talk about what do you mean by matching funds? Does the funds have to come from the ridership, or what is the matching funds?
I'll pull up one. This is the last slide. Let me share this one again. This is our funding basically that comes through and state transit assistance funds, which is the bulk of our funding that we use as base funding, has a requirement that they're looking for a 20% match, or they call it a fare box recovery. And so that's why we basically have mixed that with these other funding sources that come through. And the Area Agency on Aging, there is a requirement that we cannot charge that basically those people and so that was why we couldn't accept any more. We used their funding and we offered the program for free with no charge to the residents when it initially got started. But in order to use the State Transit Assistance Funds and the Transportation Development Act Fund, those fundings do require that there is a match or a contribution coming from somewhere else. So in our GoGo Grandparents program, there's a 20% match if you're low income and 40% if you're not in our taxi cab program. So that's why those programs are designed that way. So we can accommodate the match that's required by our funding agencies, which is primarily the state.
So it is fare collection, and there has to be fares collected.
There has to be some other funding source to come in to match it. And we get creative on it, but it was tough to get around that.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not seeing any additional questions, and we've gone for a while. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording and say thank you so much